Hello and good evening. I'm Natalie and today we're going to be looking at text. So if you do have any questions, please do let me know in the comments. Ian's in the comments as well, watching with you. So feel free to ask questions. If you want to know the details of fonts that I'm working with, just ask right here. Okay, let's just sort out my screen. Okay. So one thing is, while we're live, you're going to see that my mouse looks about 10 times bigger than normal. That's so that you can see things a little bit better. But what you will find is if there are times when your pointer should change, it's going to keep that same arrow shape. So it's doing everything it would normally do for me. Just use it as an arrow. Okay, so text. So let's have a look. We can select our text tool and we can of course type and we can do a word. So let's do word. Let's move my mouse out of the way so you can actually see and hit enter. It's going to put in the word. Nice and simple. In our properties section over here, we have the controls for our text, so we can choose our font. So let's just choose one, and I'm going to go off your screen a little, so let's scroll so that I can pick one on screen. Let's go for that one, Fairwater Solid Serif, and then it's going to change that font. Don't know why my computer's having a random click. I think it's having a little bit of a wobbly today. Okay, so if you have a font with multiple styles, you're going to find them in here. So styles are typically your body weights, so they're going to be like your hairline, fine, standard, medium, bold, heavy and black, as well as your italics. You have character spacing, so that's going to control the spacing between your characters. Now on your machine, when you're working with text, you can only have positive character spacing. When we're working on canvas, we can actually go into the negative. And what that means is we can move characters closer together when we want to weld them into one piece. Hi Brian. So when we're looking at welding, we want to make sure that everything is touching so that it can weld in one go. But once you do that weld process, it's no longer editable. So if you want to take a copy, nice easy way to do it is to press and hold Alt, click and drag, and you're going to drag a duplicate, and then you can do your welding and everything else as normal. So going to edit, down to process overlap, and we can weld. If we go into layers, we can see one layer says shape, one layer says text. The text one we can edit, so if we click again, we're going to be able to type something else. So let's go sunshine. But the brother one that we've welded down below is going to be nodes if we click again. So that's a really quick way of looking. So either check the layers panel or just do that 2 slow clicks. So when you want to get into that second mode, have it already selected, so we've got our handles around the outside. Click again and it's going to go into those nodes. Okay, let's delete those out of the way. Hi Thea. So if we go into shapes and into words here, let's pick something a bit random. Let's go for the celebrate. So we've got this kind of bubbly font. Now if we want to replicate that with our text tool in a different font, for instance, what you're going to find is that actually you're going to struggle a little bit because you've got this kind of higgledy-pickledy bottom line. So you have 2 options. You can trace yourself a baseline to put all these letters on, or you can type each of them individually. It's really not happy today, is it? Let's move that out of the way in case it's that. Be a miracle if it is, but you never know. Okay, so let's show you what I mean. Let's take path tool, and when we're working with our path tool and we already have a shape on the map, it's going to try and jump to the nearest node. I'm also going to zoom in just a little bit. So let's go here. We're going to go down to the bottom here. Click and drag to do a curve. I'm going to ignore that L for now. Just going to give you the idea what it's going to look like. So pop that up there, back down here, and let's go like that. So now when we've just finished drawing our line, it's still going to be attached to that little arrow. What we want to do is just click on that last point again. So it's going to, when we hover over the top, you're going to see it pops up a little square, or you would normally. If we do that, is then going to make our line. So let's click and drag this down here. Now let's get our text, and we can go celebrate with an exclamation mark, and we'll choose a different font. We want something with a bit of fun to it. Let's go for, the only problem with having hundreds of fonts on your computer, trying to find the one you want, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. Font management is a good idea. Let's go chocolate sprinkle. So we have our type, and you can see that our character spacing is 0, and the font itself already has these pretty much spaced perfectly for a straight line. But when we're going to move that over to our curve, we're going to find that actually our letters are suddenly going to start going in different angles. So first of all, let's make it a little bit bigger, so it's more of a, yeah, that looks about right. Maybe a little bit smaller, just a touch, just to fit in that line. Okay, we're going to press and hold shift and click on the line underneath if it's can behave. There we go. Okay, if we go to edit, down to process overlap, and then we have fit to path. We're going to do that, and we're going to find that it goes all higgledy-piggledy. At this point you might panic, but don't. So we have different options for what we can do in terms of alignment, so that we're happier with how those letters are flowing. So we can say that we want it to be centered. We can change where it sits on that line. So we can say that it's at the top, middle, bottom. We can also change the direction as well. So these two here are particularly useful if you're working with things like circles, ovals, something where the start joins the end, and you may want to move that object around. You're going to see as we change that horizontal alignment, the little cross that gives you the positioning of your text is going to move. So if we go distribute, that's actually stretching it from the start point to the end point, so that cross is going to vanish. If we go to left, you can see it over on the left over here. If we go to middle, it's going to be in the middle, and guess what, right, it's going to be on the right. We can move it so that we get it where we want it, like so. So it's all still really editable. We can adjust our character spacing. So if there are bits that we just think it's not quite working, we can increase it or decrease it. But what we can't do is do that on an individual basis between two characters. So if you find yourself needing to do that, Canvas is not the program for you to use. You will be better off with Affinity Designer. Okay, so if we then click on it again, we're going to get to that line. Click again, we're going to be able to edit that line. So we've got the R's being a bit weird here. We can actually move where we're putting it. So that R actually looks better like it's going to be going down instead of up, so we can move it. So let's go move that there, and we'll move the handle, and you'll see as I move that handle we're actually rotating those characters. So that's not a bad call for that A into T. And now for this endpoint here. There we go. And let's do that here. So what we want to do is make sure that all of our letters touch the next one at some point. And you may find sometimes a bit like this balance here that it's not quite right. So in which case, let's just move that node across. Let's see if we can help it out a little bit. And the length of the handle is going to change things as well. There we go. Okay, now let's sort out this E. Looks like it's going to be quite a bit of a troublemaker. Let's move them along. There we go. And we have our C. Now this one's going to be a bit more tricky to move because he's a starting point. It's going to be a bit more awkward. So there we go. So we can do something that looks like this one here, but we've changed the font up. And if we go to here, we can go convert to shapes, do our weld, and there we go. Hi, Mum. So there's our text, and we can go on to the next way of doing it. So let's say that you've tried everything you can to make it fit how you want it to, or you want to make sure that your letters are vertical each time. Let's go to our text tool, and we're going to go C. If we tap T, click, type your letter, so in this case E, hit enter, press T, click, L. Now this time I'm just going to do a B. Sorry, we're wandering off the page here. Let's move these back up a bit. So R, A, T. So we need an E in here and an E in here. So I'm going to select all of those letters, and it doesn't matter that they're all spaced higgledy-piggledy and the spacings between them have changed. We can go to edit, and here we have distribute space. We want to change that so it's a little bit less, so probably about 3 mil will do. And we want that horizontal space, so instantly it's going to sort out the spacing between our characters. We can also do the same with vertical space if we want, but sometimes you can find that goes a little bit weird. So let's go here, and I'm going to arrange them so they're vertically middle lined like so. So now that we've got our characters there, let's make them a little bit bigger. Like so. And then we can start to play a little bit more. So in this original one here, we had the C flowing through to the E because that made sense with that curve. So let's do something like that here. So the end of the C here is then going to look like it loops through our E. Then our L comes right up. If we look here, so we can do that again there. We can repeat that same alignment that we've got here with our L. And drop that B down just because the R can go up a little bit. We haven't got quite that top bar in the front, so we can drop that A down there. Just going to look a little bit better. And T and E. Okay, so we could go like that, but we can actually go one step further, and we can actually start to play with the relative size in the letters. So this T here is a bit awkward, and I think the only way I'm going to fix that is by taking it bigger. So let's take it up so it's about the same height there. Okay, and let's take our E there, like so, and that looks a little bit better. Now I'm going to do the same with the B, and let's take that across there, and just do a little tweak this style just so it makes it look a little bit more sensible. And again with the C, let's just pop that there. And so we have something that looks like this. Now, what I'm going to do next is select all that, press and hold Alt, click and drag. Now, the reason I'm going to do that is this is going to give me my solid base layer. So I've got my letters here, weld them together, and I have a solid base layer. But I still have all of these letters individually. So if I want to go, okay, let's pick out every other letter and we'll put it in a different colour. And we'll do that like so. Let's pop that in a different colour. And then we can have that over the top like so. And we've created a layered sentiment or title for your scrapbooking page or for your journal. Okay. And if you wanted to, you could colour all of these differently. It's entirely up to you how you want it to look. Any questions on fonts type or anything else? So if you want to make sure that we're keeping it vertical, you want to do it as individual characters. If you want it to flow, then do it as fit to path and do it that way. So that it then is going to rotate as it goes around that path.
I want to just show it on something like a circle or a triangle where you've got edges that you can...
Yeah. So let's bring in a circle. There we go. Circle. Let's bring it over to this side of the mat here. So I'm going to do an offset of my circle. I'm going to go inside and let's give myself a little bit more room to play with. So I'm going to say 10 millimeters, so 1 centimeter. Leave your original line as it is and go OK. So we have a center line for our text to fit round. So let's go for something a bit different. Let's go for that. And I'm going to copy and paste. So what I've done is I've done a full stop and a bullet. So the bullet is alternate 8 on a Mac. Don't know what it is on the PC off the top of my head. So we've got this kind of alternating pattern. Okay. Hit enter, and we're going to have our kind of bullets and full stops ready to go. Now if you want to scale this down, you can do, just so that we bring this down and manageable a little bit, like so. We can press and hold shift, select that center circle, important, the center circle, and the characters, don't worry, we can paste in more, that's absolutely fine. But what you want to make sure is that you're happy with kind of the formatting things. So if you've got to kind of set that font initially, you can change the font at this point now, and you can go into one of the other fonts and just pick that out. So don't think that because you've done that fit to path, that it's not editable at any point. It is, it's just might take a little bit longer to tweak it. Okay, so let's just paste that in, and if you've got a slight duplicate, which we have, just delete that, and then we have a really funky little pattern, and we can set that to draw. Oh, not pierce. No, come on mouse, playable. We want to go to draw, not overshoot. There we go. And let's set that line color to blue, because when our line color is blue, we know visually that it's going to be drawn, and then our black line is going to be our cut line. And we can then add in more text if we want to. So let's say we want to put in happy. Now if you wanted to add in your happy around the circle, you can do, but I'm just going to add it in here, shrink it up a bit. Again, we can set that to draw. We can apply a fill. So when we fill our shapes, including our text, they're going to fill when we draw. So that's just something to bear in mind. If you're working with a thin font and you apply a colour to it, it is still going to try and fill, even if that fill is only, you know, less than 1 millimeter wide. So if you find that a draw file is saying that it's going to take super duper long, 9 times out of 10 it's because that fill has been applied when actually it shouldn't have been. Okay, so we've got our happy. I'm going to do an alt and drag to duplicate. That way we're keeping the same font, the same size, and we can go birthday. Just going to nudge that so that it kind of sits with our happy. We can weld those two together, and then we can align them to our drawn circle. Click off it, and we've made either a sticker or a badge. It's really up to you how you want to do it. If you want to cut it as a sentiment, you can do. And of course, because it's set to draw, you can foil that with the foiling kit. You can foil it with the foil quill, as well as doing all your usual drawing with pens, paint pens, pencils, take your pick. So any other questions? So where I've done those dots, it could be that you've used a decorative font. So you can get some fonts that are just made up of brush strokes. They're really good for building borders, corners, texture and frames and things like that.
Do you want to just show, because it'll show better when it goes to the other side, so like you know, like you can change which side of the line it is.
Oh, right, on the, so if we go on here, we can go back to properties, just so that you can see how this is going to work. So vertical alignment is how it's going to fit with that blue line that's coming around here. So at the moment it's saying that blue baseline is the bottom of the text. We can put it in the middle, at which point all our circles are going to move a little bit outwards, and top, so it's going to move outwards again, and you're going to notice that the spacing changes as well. So if that is something that you haven't quite got balanced, sometimes it's as simple as going between these options just to kind of fix that. And if we reverse that path, it's going to treat the top as the bottom and the bottom as the top. So it's a quick way of kind of changing everything round, especially where you've got something like this where you've got an alternating pattern. So you can put one on the inside, one on the outside, and vice versa, just using that flip. So I hope that's given you some ideas for playing with text. So we've done fit to path, we've done welding text. You can subtract text as well. So let's say we've got a solid shape. Let's go for a little lozenge here. And this one's a good trick for if you are working with card and you have a fine font. Sometimes it's easier to cut text out of something than to cut the text itself, so that we have like the negative image. So give me a word in, any word. Tomato. Not tomato. Okay, so tomato. And let's give it something that is a little bit more fiddly. So something that's quite thin. And we'll go to weld that together. Like so. Now it is easier if we're going to do things like this that it's a stencil font, but you can't necessarily always get the font you want in a stencil. So we're going to select the text and the shape, and we are going to go to subtract. Now we could use remove overlap, and that's going to keep the tomato as a separate entity as well, but for now just go subtract. Now, so that you can see what I've actually done, if I go to the fill color and pop in red, you can see where our shape actually is, and in here you can see that that text has been applied to that shape. Okay, and if we zoom in, we can see it's really fine, and you can then go through and build your stencil bridges if you want to. It all depends on how much you're willing to kind of put up with in terms of piecing back together, or if you want to use things like transfer film to help you kind of lift that design off the mat to then apply it elsewhere, or if you want something that is going to be standalone so that you can actually raise it up on 3D foam, things like that. So you'd want to join the centers here. So very quickly, let's show you what I mean. I'm just going to press and hold space to navigate around the map without moving the shape. I'm going to go to the path tool, and remember how I said if you're hovering over a shape, it's going to go to the nearest point. That's really helpful here because we can go, right, okay, I want to go to those points there, and I'm going to go right into the middle here, right over here, back here, and then you're going to select both the new shape that's just created here and that main shape, and weld, and it's going to weld that to the back. Now if your colour vanishes like mine just has, don't panic, it's fine, we can always apply that back again. Doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. So again, we can do that, and we can actually go through and do all our bridges at once if we want to. So let's just do this one here, like so. And is there anything else? No, that's looking pretty good. So we can then go shift and select each of those and weld, and then we've created our stencil bridges. So if you're looking at the stencil pages in the design for your ScanNCut, that's essentially what we're doing with that particular project. Okay, the other thing about fine text, if you want to cut it out in the positive way, so like this, change which material you're using. So some things are going to be more forgiving than others. So for example, adhesive vinyl is going to be much more forgiving about fine text than say thick card. So you can always think your design through again, change the material and get a better result. Anything else? Any questions?
No.
So I think I've given you a pretty whistle-stop tour there of different ways that we can create with text. In terms of getting new fonts, to be honest, these days you have so many options, it's untrue. So you can look at places like Creative Fabrica, Design Bundles, Creative Market, Adobe fonts. If you are a Creative Cloud subscriber, you get those included. Lots of options, but you can also, yes, download them from me, and I'm working on a new font at the moment. So that's going to be a fun one. That's going to be a single line one, and hopefully a true single line one, which will be interesting because I'm using different software. It's a fun learning curve. Also, Creative Fabrica now do a AI generation tool for fonts as well. So if you want to have a play with that, you can download that and you can use that in CanvasWorkspace just fine. So I think that's all the options that you've got out there. I do try and remember to share things when they're out there and free for you to go and get, but let me know if there's anything particular you are looking for, and I can probably point you in the right direction. And with that, I think I will call that a night. Yes, it's given me the like and subscribe and make sure that you share as well. So we are moving on to Discord as well, so do join us on Discord. It's very vibrant, so we're getting a lot more interaction than what we would get in the Facebook group. It's a lot more immediate, so if you do have a problem, there are dedicated problem channels so that you can actually put your question in and I will answer, or Lucy will answer, or occasionally Ian will answer if you're lucky. The other thing to mention is if you do want to join us for the retreat, booking is now open through Memories and Photos. There is a link that I've put up on Facebook. I will try and remember to put one on Discord as well. There are 2 weekends. One weekend is purely ScanNCut, and the other weekend is Silhouette and Cricut. So do come along to those. They're bound to be fun. So they have quite a strong scrapbooking kind of lean. So if you are into your paper crafting, you're going to love it. Whereas other retreats kind of focus on the fabric side of the ScanNCut, we're definitely focusing on the paper side. So I do hope that you can join us for that. That will be in Milton Keynes, and the dates are on the website. So thank you for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you hopefully in Discord soon. Take care and bye for now.